Sessions about technique. One point that you would make up anything you want. Allow make a new taxonomy. You are not allowed it code. You must get proof a new classification. And everybody will now play by those rules. Not true of so you're thinking, don't implement until it has been approved. It's not only for you, it's added to our patterns and practice. It doesn't happen a lot. I just let you know it happens rarely. It doesn't. I don't see I don't know that new pattern that's made up. That is photo. I wish you wrote it, and we'll take it out of the base as soon as we can. Let's talk about these things. Practice where we create. So let's see if we can find a place in code we have a factory. Service, program manager, factories. Good. Let's take a look at a factory. Audit factory text, string builder, audit trail requests. So here's a factor that returns an object. The object string. You look at this, then you say, okay, what is this thing? Well, the only thing really doing here is putting together a list of fields, a string builder. Now, why would that? Well, the answer, I don't know, I'm a bit surprised I'll do a method like this. But here's this factory, like all other factories, promotes test. So it's easy to test in by itself. All I have to do is boot up new factory, or initiate audit factory, put in the trail request, and test this one. What does this thing do? Is it has a create diagnostic. This is interesting because create diagnostic just calls create. So this is kind of a piece of, you know, it's an example. As I'm looking at it, I don't like it. You could be saying I'm doing. What are we by using diagnostic, and how does that differ from create? It really doesn't. It means I have to test, do the same thing. See from users. Okay, so there's one usage of that. Let me find usage of this. Find usage. So it's like we don't even create diagnostic, but instead, let's get another factory. Probably not an example either. this. So this is a factory that instantiates or calls on the IC manager to get a class that implements IO. Let's go look at where this is being used. Let's go look at the emulation. Okay. You know what? I'm going to open up in Visual Studio and I'm open up different service. It's just the same theme. Let's go to Poker Access and let's see if there are any factories in there. Come on, click. Thank you. Factories. Let's try this one. Let's see how this is being used. Okay. So let's talk then. In fact, we have this private list and creates a calculator by using factory. Now, if you were to look at factory does a situation. It's called this. So then some of you might be saying, why can't we do this? Doesn't do the same thing? Let's do this. So then the question, why did the developer choose to use a factory method instead? And I'm sure there's a very good answer, and this is not the way I plan to go. But since I already started, I have looked at it at the moment. All right, guys, this you want it to the bottom of a couple things. So this is a much better example of a fact, easy to understand. So let's get at it. Okay. So this is a work factory, and it has different create methods, and there's a couple of methods. So this thing creates a workflow from a SHA event. So pass in SHA event, and then it's make some decisions on how to create the flow object. So that is a typical and good example of how to handle creation of an object. Now, two things I want to say about this. We use the new keyboard. Why are we using it? I don't know if I said no, but we do use key situation where we are instantiating something that amounts to nothing more than a prop bag by property bag. A prop bag a type of class doesn't carry forth any behavior. So if it doesn't have any behavior, it means that it won't have an interface. Property bags. Let's look at one. Okay, no. It does turn some argue that's behavior, but I'm not arguing the point. This thing does nothing more just carry a bunch of properties with it. It doesn't have behavior. So if it doesn't have any behavior, it doesn't go into our version of control, and therefore new it up. Property way are a type of class in our economy. Think about a property bag data. A property isn't serializable. It doesn't go a wall. It's a transient data structure that only it is never service. It's not serializable, and because it's not serializable, it's not a data content. So two different taxonomies. Let's go here. Okay. Now, if I wish to do and to look at the workflow, so this is a different class. It's named workflow, but is in the namespace contracts.cc. So the data contract was out, it is serviceable and therefore not in our taxonomy as a property bag. Okay. So this factory will know how to create whether it was given DC child event, this contracts DC child event on event set a contract DC child event. This factory will create this regardless. It also knows how to make a copy itself. So it can return a copy of itself, and it can also return this cost of itself. So that factory, we don't always use factory when a simple data. We use a factory here because it does things. There's really here. There's decisions that are made, and we don't want to duplicate those decisions every piece that we need to instantiate workflow. So therefore, it's a factory. Okay. Repository. So we have factories. We have repository. Let's look at a repository. Repository. So repository's responsibility is not to store data, but to access data. Now, how does a repository differ from a data access? As you can see, our taxonomy that a DAO. We also have a repository. DAO is still level, and the true the DAO database. To carry behavior that may need the DAO access data, and we might need to do some data in there to say some processor needs to know that it images. So let's look at this thing again. So here's a repository that talks to a cache. Now the cache is not a data access. The cache probably comes from iCache, and iCache may talk to a mobile piece of cache or the distributed caching system. The point is that the processor, the thing that uses this repository, does not care and should not care where the data is coming from. The process that is using the data only knows that it needs these objects in order to process it. If in the process we said DAO.net, then what we're doing is we're pulling that DAO processor forever. If I need to change the data access from, say, the database to, say, an in-memory cache, and I would have to change the process, and it would be bad, because the single responsibility would be process objects, not what about will objects be. If I put the inside processor, then I'm carrying forever that DAO to that processor. That's probably not good to do. Yeah, sure, it's, but the developer machine knows that he process to that DA for. We live by the goal of the unclosed principle. That is, the architecture is open for extension and closed for modification. That's important. Don't modify our architecture. Let's take a look. This repository imports a number of different objects. I wanted to get into what's in control in this session. So I'll just jump on very quickly. The word attribute import tells the inversion of control system in MEF, the Microsoft Institute framework. Time a work repository is instantiated to go out and get an icon title type repository and inject it in the class. Inject it. That's where you get prediction from. So I need a constructor that I guess I could constructor work for repository that does this. I could do that because I have property injection. That's what that input does. So it needs all these classes, and then it needs class making decisions on the control information. Take a look at, for example, get in log. calls the cache to get and log value that is specified by the ID and might have some type of validation message going on and might do some other thing like write to auditor and finally return value. We definitely would not want to do then the processor that utilizes this piece of information, because then we're mucking up this reproducibility of the processor. And instead, we want a repository. The job is to be able to deal with getting the data, whether that data is in a cache or whether that data exists in a database. That a repository is. Okay. So that's factory, the repository. I'll leave processor for a moment. Data, I think you guys saw a little bit about data, but I will view just in case. See if I have validators in this subject. I do not. Let me see if I have any validators in this project. I do not. Let's go back to payroll and payroll access, payroll period. That's where we were before. So there is valid for me. Most of the time, if we have any, we do. So this is a validator that's called appropriated validator. Note, period request. So that you can see that, or you can imagine that this is a data contract. This is a data that represents the request object for the operation payroll period. If I would look here, I see that I have a payroll period. Get payroll period request. Now, in this situation, and I think we did this request for one reason or another, not using built-in validators that frameworks have, decide to go on its own, will be very, very, and I can potentially, this rudimentary validation and frameworks. There is not complete validation. Most of the time, rudimentary validation do work, but not all the time. And in the occasions, we need time or to inject ourselves to the validation system. Notice this is our class. Let's go look at the real class, or not the real class, but the side of it. We can see that validator is generated, but doesn't do. And the reason it doesn't do anything is because there wasn't any prop defined. The user didn't call out prop period request to be validated. Nonetheless, frameworks aided validator. Did this for a couple reasons. First, if we go back to implementation, service generated in payroll period requests, period access. Sorry, that's not it. Oh, here, yes. And we were to look at get period request. Here's the payroll period operation, and we can see that we'll call the validator before call the operation. And for that, the operation shouldn't even run if validator says that the request has not been validated. So whether there is something in the validation or not, it'll lead the validation costs. In this case, again, the user decided to put all their validation in the costs, just away. And here it is. Often you will see a mixture. You will see a mixture of built-in validation that the user has to declare through frameworks, and custom code. When it's code, it has to be tested. That's valid. What we do is we don't into the operation, we don't start validating this in the operation. Because in the operation, two things that the operation has to be multiple valid. It control flow system. So it has to be okay if this value then create validation result. Sometimes there's no way around it because you don't not know everything you need to know until you start processing. That's pretty late to do. We try to do it in validators. And about validators. An authorizer, I talked about, I don't again. About redemption security as well. And we move from that go out documents. Can the way they did it as to that our expect it. So this is sitting and see that for us to take realistically an object and to iterate over source and make sure in these are users are manipulate data will object framework will actor frameworks will order that redact 10 objects and might out only 2. It does. That's the implication we looked. Data contract you already know. You already know. Data, that's where you data. And just I'll take you can look at that. So we've already seen things like this where this DAO just stands in hibernate. And it's only part of our code to understand or to do database. A DAO will have, for example, there's a get by ID. And the reason why it has to get by ID is because the model has specified at payroll period. The property has queries. So we're saying create the query. So it doesn't create queries for property. That would hold no reason to do that because for example, for everything that is locked. But if they want, then they would set the property query through for his framework. Code will write the data appropriately. Just one word about generation here. Let's say we do this and we set queries to true. Frameworks will generate code anytime the saved project is closed. If I go and hit save, just to save all time. Frameworks is doing right. It's generating every single class. Now that took 3 seconds. It generated thousands of classes. The power. Generate code generation never does it. So I choose that time. And the thing is here, let's say delete the whole thing, and I say save. During the generation process, it will notice that all items were missing and will regenerate it. But if I just delete that guy, the employee, and then I save, and when it will generate this employee back. So the thing is, you never worry about stop anything generated, because if I hold a folder and I just going to regenerate every, including the folder stuff. So pretty hard. Okay, this is a large of this. Actually, spied it's it's the whole thing. Let's go back and look at our DAO and period DAO, and let's find is locked. There's is locked, and get by is locked, and it takes a boolean and writes that query. And in that way, the repository can just say DAO.get is locked, and that's all you have to do in terms of getting your data. You don't need to deal with that alone. There will be circumstances when queries. Sometimes there is a lot of circumstances. Sometimes there's only a few or none. I think in particular applications, let's look at what that looks like. Again, it's a partial if and a partial last. And when you write this, get ID include reps. So this is what that looks like. Set query open. We're not doing real anymore, so we're getting away in time. But the user is writing a high query error and then return a single or default. That's like one point. This thing called section error. It is very, very important. Take 5 minutes to talk about data. So I tell you what people do. This is what people. Most people will do this. Whether it's high maintenance frameworks, they will open a section, do some more work, save the connection. Nothing from they have some process therefore that knows how to connection. Right at you saying, why would a processor have to know about an ORM that knows how to connect? Read doing like that. Most people do that. And they do some work and continue some work. Also look at this. Geez, I have lots of problems to deal with. One, connect for long. Very very long time. And if you ever create sections in a scalable fashion, you need to close that connection as fast as you possibly can. If you don't, it's making an extraordinarily valuable resource. Your application still will not scale. So, in order to promote reusability and to be able to scale, we never do this. How do we do it? We do this. We open the section, retrieve our data, click in. We then do what we want to the object tree. Fast, honestly, we don't care. We can pass objects around. We can do all kinds of work. It's connected from the database. Action open. Then, finally, if we want, we open the connection. We save the data. Close the connection. So for a very small period of time, processors don't have to do anything about it. Do whatever we want to objects, doesn't matter. Add, delete. We then open connection, we save the data, and lose the connection. That's the way it works. Section Manager will control all of that opening and closing for us. Furthermore, what do if we are in save? Let's say there's some error, I don't know. Saves are unusual. But let's say that this situation with during save payroll period, we need to save other objects that have some sort of logic in there that only DAO should know about. Before the DAO know about, then we have to go from DAO A to DAO B to DAO C to data. So that might look like this. DAO.1. Well, DAO1 might say, what I thought DAO. And you know what? DAO might have to call DAO3. Unusual, but it happens. So, DAO2.save might be called within the context of DAO1, might be called on its own context. It didn't know. The point is that thing was built, no, calling it a Y. Now, as part of what the DAO might need to do, he needs to do a big transaction, to do some database work, and I need to commit a transaction. Great, sure, it's unusual. But part of what the one is doing, it might create a transaction. This guy's going to begin. This guy's going to commit transactions, commit and done in trouble. Because we're going to get an exception. We've already did it. We have the RAM control the commit. Instead, the second manager will do that for us. If we lose section manager, we see that the second manager has something called in transaction. It's a rest count. So what that is, this in transaction reference count increments 1. When this calls begin transaction, you say, hey, wait a minute, the reference count is greater than 1. I don't need to actually tell anything. to begin its action at all because the action's already running. I'm going to increase reference count, but I'm not going to begin its action. And then we hit commit. And then on the commit, the same thing happens. Yes, okay. Decrement the reference count, but don't do anything with the transit. And we get to here, and we do commit. The action manager says, what's the reference count? Reference count 1. Okay, have commit. Now we can actually tell Honey to commit transaction. So the section manager all for us. And the section manager, by the way, is not one of the generate piece. You really don't have to worry about any of that. The other thing to do when you write a custom query is make sure you write it within the confines of an execute statement. That the section manager can do whatever it needs in order to satisfy its capabilities. So lack there, by the way. So I wanted transaction, I might say section manager role dot begin transaction, and then this is to run such transaction, and I will say section manager payroll there commit. One thing you don't see going on that action manager is going to do for you is opening closing of the connection. I don't have to do any of that. I just find the iQuery which action and whatever I need to do, and that will be true of any ORM. Is will work with it with iQueryable. Another to it, the chunk of database management within either libraries or generated code is working with libraries, and the developer is only responsible for following the actual state that the work. That's a DAO, and we'll probably have more training on DAOs time on too. And to type of property back. The big say that entity is in bags or not. So in the model, yeah, yes, please. Question you want.
We are using an hibernate, right? So instead of using an hibernate, if I use Ringo object,
so link SQL needs a action. Sure. So I'm going to have to tell that link to entities, link to SQL. There's a distinction, and I can't get what it is. But what I can tell you is that as long as I have this query DA session, then I can say things like use link. So I can say rs equals underscore DAO dot session dot no, sorry.
Data set being used DO dot
no sorry
DB context.
Sorry, variable. So variable dot where x goes x dot I equals 2. That should be familiar. Dot.
Yes. Yeah.
Single. Whatever. It should look familiar. So is that linked to? No, it's not really. No, not really. To me, that's just link. Link that a queryable variables how to go go to framework in the next 6 months. The
Okay.
DA knows that in this method will have query as well, so this date won't change at all. So all you need to worry about is writing against the queryable your list statement. Query or in Hibernate is a special command that is not linked by command, and so what we need to get at DO set the in Hibernate session directly, and that's what I said was the day I allowed people to do that. And that means you have in Hibernate specific courses, and when we get entity frameworks, unlike this state, these states are going to have to be looked at by hand, of which 272 one lot. And most of our, by the way, are the variety, not the variable variety. It's just that, you know, how do you do if you have dog, a dog, and the dog has an owner list. Well, this is not going to allow you to get dog's owner list. So let's just call this dog this, right? On payroll period. I'll just say payroll period. This will get the owner's list. Or list. To get a list, see if this I had a list place. A list. So period documents won't be loaded. You didn't tell load. There's no way to require to load it. The only way it will be loaded is loaded. So you would actually have to call the property, like doing something like this. If payroll period documents.com equal 0, something like that, and then a link, which is in Hive to go ahead and load payroll period document list. So, but we can't do that. We should do that because we're going to click connection. So if I get a list at the connection was closed, we would get exception because hey, I did load this, the connection's closed, and I want that behavior. People will say that's bad. No, that's good. It's extraordinarily good. Why is it good? It's good because the job product this information, not what about CFL queries. And if I allowed some code that's about this to take some action that trigger a database action that might make this thing query 2,000 rows, I'm killing it. I want some innocuous piece of code to have from the database. We have to get the database with our lives. The only that should talk to the database should be inside our DAOs, because then the developer is solely responsible for thinking about how many rows, what should I do, and then we close the connection immediately. That would be the only, and that's what query over does, by the way. Query over will load not only the root object was here, but potentially this other objects with it. And that's what query over does.
Okay. Okay.
Right. There is a number of ways to be able to get at an included list. One of them within a query over. Another way is to copy. Another way is to get the dog that one other get dogs on a list, and then write some code to we say is hop pattern to cobble the two together. That would be a way to do it. And the other way, perfectly fine. You just write a little bit more code. And I wish I could continue to make people write code, because if I did, we wouldn't query her. And if we didn't query her, could convert a shop from NHI to frameworks and probably about, but we have 72 core overs all over this. I think go now, and I have to change this overstatement something that entertainment understands, and that is very important. It's just reasonable. Then I wouldn't have had to do that. We use it like this, I wouldn't have had to do that. That's sad. So to answer your question, you absolutely link against the query, whatever you want. I've probably totally explained you. Why?
You can actually, in my previous organization, writing link query and language using my NTM book. I use the data context or whatever we need. So you're doing some over session, you were confused with this code. That's why I.
So what you probably doing to this would probably something like include list.
Include
Yeah.
We are using since here and type dot inner join we are using, right? There we were using join inner join left right. So we have on condition as well. Here there is no on condition. That's what I got confused. Instead of writing, code is readable, I feel.
Right. So one of the reasons why we wanted to NT framework C was start this code base. DD4 works in EF4 version 4, and that was just it was unusable in the interest. When EF6 came out, now we got EF7 beta 5, and that is, I think, has finally in many ways passed and as time goes on, it will just continue to hibernate in many ways. And hibernate will, and although very good ORM and it served the community for more than a decade, and it cannot any longer compete into framework 7. That's why we will be converting. So you will have that available probably with 6 months. However, what we will not do, and this is really, we will not do a pattern that does this thing. People open connection, sometime later close connection. That's not enterprise worthy. That's not skill.
Mm-hmm.
They open the object context and then leave it open and change tracking. And then at some point just say safe. And that's convenient if you're writing a limited program. It's good enterprise software. Put it this way, everybody likes, right?
Yeah.
Every time you hit the database, it is a huge deal. Huge. Why is that? Non-SQL, no SQL, and a relational database pattern, you have one server that satisfies one database on many databases. What does that mean? That means when a query is run, it has to run with the queries that could be against a single server. So when you run one query, you might be making a whole, you're slowing everybody down completely. And that's why any hit database is tremendously important. And you should never ever write code that goes to the database without a thought. It's the most important code to write. Think this. Actually, you got me this, right? I'm only for 5 minutes. I should probably know the answer to this, but let's say that I'm in a C# world and do things like this. Simple int x equals 3. Right?
Yep.
This is I do something in Hive or an SQL. It says select star from dog where ID equals 1. And make this simple. Let's say there is only one dog in the database. All right? Well, if this is times 0, okay, and if I was in a graph, let me put number to it. This is small unit of time, and the time over here grows. So further I get on the graph, our period of time are larger. And this statement, think of a statement in a SQL database, just a log file. Right? If my first statement takes a small unit of time, let's say I'm going to put it here, and X marks the spot, right? So this in my time, it took CPU to run this piece of code. Where do you think far out did I go? Put X representing either the low files or the big. Do you think I should put it here? Do you think put it here? Should I put it here? Do you think I put it? Alpha. This X represents the amount of time on the statement that is next. Where do you think I put this XX to represent the amount of time it takes to X of disk? Here? 50%? Where? Here? Should I put it all the way over here? Should I put it here? Take a guess.
John, to execute system where equal to one that statement, how much time it takes?
Yeah.
You're asking, right?
Yeah, but even
So
forget about
just,
that. How about just to say one character? The point is disk. One character to a disk. So you can think about SQL, you can think about it just saving a character disk. How much time does it take? You want
50% means.
so let's think about it in percent, but so you want me to put on here?
Okay.
Okay. So that's not correct. Hemant, still on the line? So yeah, I'll put it in for lack. Where do you want me to put the H dog?
Takes amount of.
I can't hear him loud. Tell me what he said.
Yeah, I'm okay with that location.
How where
Hello.
I yeah. Where you want H?
It will be much than this, just because like it is actually going to hit this, and it depends on this. There are lots of factors that will be involved, but
Let's say
in
the
this
fast.
case, just
Let's say the fastest in the world.
still it will take quite
Okay.
like may not fit in. We are coming with X equal to 3 in here.
Yeah. So imagine it doesn't go here, it doesn't go here, it doesn't go here. Now imagine if you had a bigger monitor that reached the other room. The monitor wouldn't be big enough. Imagine if I had a monitor reach across the ocean to your office. That monitor wouldn't be big enough. Imagine if you had a monitor to the moon. That monitor would not be big enough. The monitor would have to reach all the way to Saturn to be big enough to represent the time difference between running this statement and the simplest acts on some physical. That, think about that for a second. Not inches, not feet, miles, hundreds, thousands, not hundreds of not even millions, tens and hundreds of millions of miles away. Isn't that remarkable? So when we write a statement like this, man, better think hard. That's the exact statement that we write. Because we have to walk the way to get it. And yet, developers don't spend near enough time thinking about the act of the database. And what's worse is there's one database for a table or a schema or I mean, only one server serves it. So what I'm trying to say is the database is a huge, huge bottleneck. It takes a lot of time. So we're careful about that. So think of a pattern like opening a connection and letting a small piece of code responsible for business application to just really do whatever you want is crazy. It's a world on insane. I mean, what people think about. Well, the answer is don't enter this level code, and when they do, they're not doing a good job. Best companies in the world think about they have skill data access there. It opens out only skill, but we free process in our own sweet on anything we should do. Plain old CLR objects and not about the database. I'm going to leave it there. I tend. Yes. Sure.
You mentioned
Wait a minute. Where
no, the case where you mentioned that's this one, not particular this. When you're to open the connection of the data connection, do whatever we want to do, and then again we open the connection data, close the connection.
Correct.
We say how do we manage the current there is any. Because if someone is to access the same data, copy the same data.
Sure. But not that much change. So there's just of currency. There's automatic currency, and there's optimistic. There's pessimistic currency. Basically, this beginning transaction, keep lock. I'm going to have the law on data as long as I'm missing my work. That is criminal. User optimistic concurrency said that I'm going to, and I often reverse sort of that, excuse me, but the other concurrency optimist said that I'm going to get my data. Notice the state of that data. Then do more work, say the data, and when we say data, check the state of that data and determine if my data is dirty or not. There's basically two this. Well, the multitude do this, but the two most popular are to have, let's say my dog object and this dog object has ID and it has name. Well, we also have an optimistic concurrency timestamp or in our case a version number, and we can go on to a version and with that version so that on save the version increments. So when my data, I know they have version 1. When I save the data, I bet the latest data out there better be version 1. And it's not. I know that somebody else has modified the dog. Nobody has modified that dog and it's version 1. I modify the dog and I that version to 2. And in that respect, we can have a current situation where what can happen is that multiple people try the same roughly the same time period, and the one person will be allowed to do that. The other people will get exception message. Now, during our architecture, we think, is this going frequently? Because one thing's for sure, too, if you're sitting where it happens frequently, then the only way to really hard against this is to not do updates and just continue to instance and then settle it later, or to hand conflict resolution, the user. Hey, this change, do want to change name and all that. But what that is, during the time playing with the user, more that row. So this is a matter of how should architect the application. Here's an example. You guys saw payroll, right? And payroll saw a grid. The grid has employee 1 and $100 in employee 2 and $200 in employee 3, $100 in employee N. Whatever. And the thing is, I'm working on my payroll workbook and people changing the workbook at the same time, and there's a lot. And I've been working an hour at work. Well, when I go to save all this data, one person's data is going to one person's work going to be totally lost. It's a big problem. We don't want it. So what we do, we architected for that, such that when the person changes from 100 to 104, we do an immediate bang, right? We do that save. So the chances of conflict are much, much more. Now the chance to change that cell in time. If they did, one person gets thrown out, but don't lose all the work for the 2 hours. They only have number, which they get notified. Now, Hamad, there's a penalty for this. Now, what penalty? Let's look at this. Say it's user 1 here, and this is user 2. When they changes to 107, we need to message down to this user 2 to change this to 107. Because if he doesn't, he's looking at things that's old and dirty, and for his holes are going to be old and dirty. So that's exactly what we do. And it's like, here I am, I have 10 browsers across the world, and 10 different people are using this at the same time. And they change, this to 1.1.0.1.11, then all the browsers automatically get changed to 1.11. Everybody is at the same time. And that's exactly what we do. And the way we do it is the asynchronous processing and signal and to put messages down to the browser. And it's really a beautiful system. But, at cost, right? It's a cost.
Using the net bandwidth, yeah.
So, yeah, sure. So, don't architect. You don't do that when you only one user, right? That over. But you do that when the free until you get into a problem where it's a lot of work. So there's ways to think about these problems, and that's what we do for a living. That's what we pay. So we think about these things and account for them. I used to. My background is I spent some time as a consultant on 10 years. I had a consulting company about 40 working for me. And what we would do is we would both code and we would just consulting plain consulting instruments. So there are other people that's been in the business for a number of years that are working for some like I have 5 years. I've seen one company in the 5 years. When I'm in consulting, I'm 5 or 6 years. So I on more. So I've seen so many companies. I've been in and out of so many enterprises. And one thing has shocked me, the number of enterprises that have their together. It's so long. It really is. It's unbelievable. I do. I want one of those shops. So I think I will end it there unless there's any other questions. I know, guys, go on. If everybody was here in training, we would do 2 solid training like this. So there's a lot of this, but the way I know to everybody up to speed. Anybody else? Anybody tell that they think I'm full? That would be okay. I would. Yes.
How do you take care of record loss?
I really don't. That would be a thing that happens at the database, and if 2 people were to update this same row in a manner where sequence will determine their deadlock and not specify a deadlock, then we would SQL 7 and would double up to the some unexpected error probably that went on. Please retry, and then they would retry. They would be able to do the work. I'm real that when I have contention though, then I'm doing things that minimize contention. Much of example of how. And this is why we do as many things asynchronously as we possibly can. So think about this. We have, say, five processors out there. Five processors all to a deadlock one. Well, our software has the ability to fail over. So the exception thrown in those processors. And then enterprise service bus will, okay, process one, you wait 5, process 2, you process 4, you go, and it will retry process 4 at that point. Then at some point later on, process 1, say, is fail state. Well, our enterprise service bus is affiliate and will retry again. And again and again, do a number of times and specified by users. Here's an example. I want to enter an employee. I enter an employee. It's like 20 happen. Those 20 are happening to work. It gets to 5. It choke because the database just goes down. Somebody just pulls the plug. I'm smart enough to say, okay, I know this workflow step at 5. So I'm going to wait 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, and then I'm going to invoke him again, and I'm going to get another set at it. And then again, until the developer said, look, you can't, if the developer says, look, if you can't do it in over the course of 3 hours, send an email, and I'll have to figure out. That's the way our asynchronous processing. Let me tell you guys, it is awesome. When you sit, you're going to see, oh, this is awesome. We have a system that is scalable because where synchronous is possible, and it automatically fill over and automatically. Really cool stuff. Really, and we get fresh. So that will be another session. That will be session 26 or whatever number it is. By the way, I'm taking tact, right? I'm taking you guys not so that I'm not. Let me back up. I give you a little information, and I could say go and do this thing. That's one way I could do this, right? And you have a picture, a bigger picture, and then you take a picture as we go. I decided not to do that. If you guys are going to be here longer, I want you to know the theory of what we do. You will go in and explore, and you will write some code, and you will get a phone call. And you will say, why did you write that code? That's not my code. Okay. But the more you do this, the more you start to see the philosophy that we have. You might not be able to apply it or imagine how it works. But you know what? To that I say, so what? Figure out. We're all engineers. That's the easy part. I bet you I could get I cause people and they go figure out the APIs and whatever. But that's not what real match is. The match here, and what I'm trying to use is an understanding of our architectural pattern philosophies. And then if you need to use plus to understand signal arrays, you do. I don't have to. Well, there are other information out there. So that's I'm trying to go on. I've ever heard if a fish person, you have him lunch, but if you teach them how to fish, you have fed person for a lifetime. And I either take the approach of other show you how to fish rather than give him lunch. But you guys have to help me, right? Because think of this: I'm 8,000 miles away. Right? I'm with the phone. Right? I'm not of your culture. My accent is terribly different, and I don't know how I would think in money. So you guys be critical of me and say and tell me you will help me help you. If you guys swear, then it would be cheesy because I look at your eyes and I see I'm doing a bad job, but I can't do that. So you help me do that. Okay. Hey, thank you guys. Okay.
John.
Yes.
John.
Ashok?
Yeah, correct. You're supposed to send us resharp license from like
Okay.
the sharp license.
Yeah. Send me an email, okay? I might get it otherwise.
Okay, I'll send one. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Are you there, Ashok? Man? Because Marius said earlier. So you're thinking you're the man.
Man.
That means that I'm not a man.
This man.
I'll talk to you later. Thanks, Ashok.
All right.
No problem.